Hi everybody, this is the Mind Link Frequency. I'm here with DJ Rasputan, Patrick Joy.
Hola.
And we're just going to talk about some music. As you can see in the background, we got this EP coming out, Deep Space. It has 3 tracks on it.
Yeah, 3 new dubstep tracks.
That's so
kind
cool.
of progressive, not very Skrillexy.
No? Okay.
No.
So like when you say progressive, like kind of alt rock, but for dubstep in a way, or?
Yeah, like a little more chilled out, like how dubstep was when it first started coming into America in 2006, 2007.
Did it come from Norway or?
No, the UK.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep. A lot of the old school just dub reggae was coming out of the UK, and then it just kind of evolved into dubstep, and then...
That's so cool. I didn't even know it came from the UK. I thought it came from Sweden or something like that.
Yep.
Why do they call it dubstep, though?
Well, a lot of it is the old dub reggae recordings. So basically, just reggae without vocals. And so
Okay.
it'd be all the dub tracks. And then once they added a beat to it and set it to 140, now it's like 145, 150.
That's the BPM range
Yep.
there?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, very dancey stuff. I'm kind of bad with classifying some of those genres, especially when it comes to dance music, but that helps flesh it out. So 140 to 145-ish BPMs based on old reggae without the vocal space.
Correct. Well, that's the thing. Before Skrillex came out, and a lot of the players that you have that are big in dubstep now, it was all really kind of chill, just bass heavy, and not really screechy with a lot of choppy parts,
Distorted sounds
Right.
and stuff like that you
Yeah.
hear now, which is...
That's
I
right.
mean, it's interesting, but I haven't listened too much of it, to be honest. I've listened to some Skrillex, like that one with the 911. That's very, intense.
Yeah.
But tell me some more about Deep Space.
So basically, I'm kind of going back to what made me love dubstep to begin with, and also I'm getting a little bit older, so kind of chilling things out a little bit.
Mellowing it down.
Yeah, and kind of going more deeper into the sound, and getting more bass heavy and just more spatially, intuitively kind of making the sounds deeper, just even the hi-hats, everything, just so that...
Pitch-wise? Deeper? Or?
A little bit deeper pitch-wise. Also, just even subject matter. I'm using different vocals from... some are from India, some are from Africa, some are just vocals that people have done notes and then let it carry on, and so I take that and then add a lot of delay to it and kind of ping it around, and it just makes everything sound bigger spatially.
Yeah, no, I've heard some of the stuff. I don't know if I listened to the most recent drafts and things that you have, but it really has it's this driving, like you said, it opens a space with the vocalizations, and I think the ones that I heard the most had the reggae, and you said Indian vocalizations.
Yeah.
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 I love Indian classical music. Is that where you got it from, or?
Yeah, some of it. One of the actual vocals I have is just traditional Indian chants.
Oh,
and
nice.
And so I take those and then just kind of play around with them, stretch them, and do all kinds of different stuff with it. But, like I was telling you before, I have a reggae background, but I mean, my mom played reggae music for me when I was a little kid in Canada, and so I've grown up with it.
So you grew up in Canada?
Yeah, until I was 10.
Okay.
And then we moved to Florida, and so that also had a very Caribbean, background to it.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime you went to the beach, all you heard was reggae.
Marimbas and all that
Yeah.
stuff. That's so tight.
Yeah, so it's like I've always been surrounded by it. And then before I could DJ, I was an MC, and I did a lot of raga vocals. And so that kind of ties everything into kind of where I'm at with production now.
That is really cool. I like listening to... I don't know exactly what ragas are. I think it has to... like the chanting and the mantras and stuff. But I do like listening to Indian classical a lot. So could you explain to me a little bit what raga is?
More dancehall music. Buju Banton and even Bob Marley and guys like that they started in dance hall before it really got to reggae music. And that's where a lot of those roots come from. It's all very island heavy and just like the basic roots of where reggae came from and dub and all that.
Caribbean and because I mean, let's see, Bob Marley. Where is he from?
Jamaica.
Jamaica. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. God, what a great musician. It's too bad that he died so young though.
Right.
I don't know. 27? Was it the magic number that he died at, or was it a little bit older than that?
It may have been. I think he was a little bit older, but he made quite a few artists that have come up now with the Marley name. So he's living on through his children, definitely.
Oh yeah.
And the estate's not doing too bad. But Damien has a great career. Ziggy's done great for a long time. But we just saw the Marleys out at Merrimore a couple of years ago, and I mean, there was so many Marleys that played that show. I mean,
so cool.
It's crazy
Big
how
family.
how many kids he had. It's nuts.
Very fertile man.
Yes.
That's crazy, though.
You know what he liked to do for fun?
Yeah. Well, I mean, because, let's see, that's Rastafarianism. I don't know if they're polygamous in their belief system or not.
No, not really. He liked to have fun with whoever was around.
Very
yeah,
famous. He just made it happen. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and he thought himself quite a prophet and thought that he was,
doing
procuring.
God's work.
Yeah,
Ja.
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, his music when I was a kid touched me like in a lot of ways. It's just like really the lyrics of what he would, the lyricism was just solid, emotional, like let's all come together, like one love, obviously. And I mean, he talked about some intense stuff too, but it always kind of came back to this whole let's try to figure these things out, make them work, and I always liked that in his lyricism.
Right.
Very hopeful music, and then it really helps with the the upbeat or what is it? Because it's on the
it's
twos and the fours. Is that what it is?
Yeah. When you're strumming up, doing the reggae pick,
Yeah,
definitely.
and that's some good music.
But yeah, no, definitely profound.
Oh yeah,
makes you think.
Yeah, it makes you think if maybe he was. I mean, I'm not much to believe in too much spiritual stuff, but I definitely like it a lot. Especially from a scientific and historical perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
By the way, this spread is amazing. I wish I could put it into the shot. It's a little bit in there. I guess you can kind of see it. Yeah.
Hey, we like to be hospitable,
Very hospitable. We got my water here. I offered some scotch.
Right?
Yeah, it's really good. You got this. I mean, the framing. Yeah, you picked a good way to frame this.
Yeah, thanks. This is our new compilation coming out, Summer Beats, the first volume, and it's basically all just. We have techno, we have dubstep, we have hip hop, we have. Some future house, some bass house, just a bunch of different genres, and that's what we like to do. Is, my parties that I used to throw were always kind of all-encompassing. We didn't do just one type of genre throughout the night, which is kind of common for most electronic music nights.
Yeah,
just
very
having
true.
one, unless you have different rooms, and then you can have more. More genres, but even back in the day, we would have a house person, then a breaks person, then a drum and bass person, then and then as dubstep came in, we would bring that in, and so when we started the label, we kind of wanted it to be a catch-all label, just so that we didn't discriminate. We like all music, and
And I think that's so important. I mean, I've seen Carlos, come out and play lots of music, and then the River Party, one after another, just different music, and it was really cool because I'm like, I do like listening to one genre, but it does get a little bit boring, especially if you're out just having fun. It's cool to switch it through, instead of just the same driving beats, having that variation. And then it was really cool because you were mixing between your songs or stuff that you might have been drafting. I can't remember. It was stuff that you'd released.
Mm-hmm.
It was released material?
A couple were releases, a couple were stuff that I was just trying out and to see if it would work, and
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it was cool. Just that mixture of your original stuff and then just some other things that you'd spin normally. And were you using techniques or?
No, we were actually using a controller. I love playing on Techniques, though. I mean,
Classics,
I'm an old school turntablist. I love
Beat matching.
beat matching, mixing and scratching. I mean, that's when I came up. If you couldn't do that, you weren't really a DJ.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think that's still the case. I mean, people should bet themselves, I feel.
Right.
But
yeah, I know. And sometimes when I go out and I hear some of the younger DJs playing, they don't care if they match the beats into it, or will
Train
mix.
wrecks.
Yeah, they'll train wreck or mix out in a space where there is no beat, and which
dead air doesn't really work
Yeah.
on the dance floor.
Well,
I mean, except for dramatic.
right.
Yeah.
And we called that dick mixing back in the day. Is if you go out into a space to where it's just a noise that's continued that it doesn't have a beat, and you're bringing in the other song, that's a dick mix.
A deck mix. So that's,
Dick.
Oh, dick mix. I was like deck mix. I was thinking like a
No.
taped cassette player or something like that.
No,
Yeah.
you're mixing like a fucking dick.
Yeah, it is a dick mix. It's like, come on, like people are here to
Yeah,
dance and move. They
exactly.
paid to get in the club, paid,
Well,
for whatever the show is.
And that's the thing. You have to keep the beat constant. There's breakdowns and stuff like that to where you have to let people chill out for a little bit and then bring it back in. But if you're letting the beat drop off and then you're bringing in a beat, I mean it's kind of shitty unless you're switching between genres, which I happen to do every once in a while.
And yeah, and that's fine. I mean, like you said with the pauses, but yeah, I think I've heard several dick mixes before, and it's like, bro, like every song is just ending. It's like an
Right.
iTunes playlist. Like
Yes.
I could just plug my phone in right now.
And
What's the point?
that's the scary thing.
Oh yeah, some people do that.
Yep.
Yeah, I like wedding DJs.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like Uncle Joe. Like it's like, bro, like come on, are you really paying this guy?
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, over the years, I've had so many people come up and say, "Can you play something off my phone when I'm playing in a club?" And that's ridiculous. I mean,
It's stupid. It would be nice if there was like a way to make a technology that they could like, you know how you can like, share over the cloud or something like that, or plug in. Like if they could like gift it to you temporarily or something, and you could mix it in, only if you were able to see like the BPM and the key, of course, because that's
Yeah.
part of the mixing, right?
well, and that's usually the biggest problem is that when somebody's requesting something when you're playing in a club, it usually has nothing to do with whatever you're playing. And most DJs have kind of figured out their playlist and everything like that before they get in there. So
Yeah.
throwing in something that you're not used to is kind of screws everything up.
Well, yeah, because like the whole idea isn't it to like you want you hone it, like you said, over years of watching people at the club, what they react to, what they like, what makes them not dance, because obviously you want them to just move and move and move, and then they'll be encouraged to endorphins, and then they go buy drinks, and so then the club owner's like, all right, this is a great DJ.
Yep.
I keep getting drinks,
Exactly.
and everyone's having a good time.
Yep.
Really controlling them, and yeah, with that, I feel like that's it's kind of insult to injury. It's like, come on.
Yep.
But then you get those drunk people that just come up and they're like, hey, man, why don't you
Yep.
play this song?
Yep.
And then if there's not a good bouncer, I mean,
Right.
that probably sucks.
Now, I had a drunk guy lean over the DJ booth one time and actually grabbed the needle off the record. And I grabbed his hand and said, "I will break your fucking fingers," and then put his hand back down and let the record play again.
I mean, sometimes you have to do that. And I mean, that's expensive equipment, especially on, was it vinyl?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
that's like, come on. And the needle can break really easily as
Yeah.
well, right?
Exactly. Well, and when you're playing in clubs, it's rare that you have good equipment. I mean, the equipment at your house is usually way better than anything you're playing on in a club.
Oh, like the house equipment.
Yeah,
Okay,
because it's usually turntables that are 15 years old, have been through the ringer, and you've had 15 years of DJs putting their own needles on it. The contacts get shorted out and shit like that.
Okay.
And so yeah, it's never as good as what you have at home. Every once in a while, you get to a club that there's some down in South Beach and stuff that are have DJs that are owners that really know how much or how important it is to the music, and they'll have better quality stuff, but it's rare. because most club owners are
They don't know.
no, and most of them are sleazy people that really give a shit about the music. All they care about's the money and people buying drinks.
Yeah, are people going to pay to come in? Are people going to keep
Yep.
buying drinks? How sloshed can we get them?
Yep.
I think I've even heard of some bartenders being encouraged to overserve just so that people end up
Oh,
getting
yeah.
even more drunk and paying for more and more.
Well, and we had it down here at Foundation to where they were systematically even drugging some of the girls and stuff like that.
I think I did hear about that. That's, I mean, to have an establishment, like a place that you should feel that you can trust, and you're paying them to go into the establishment, to just break that kind of trust is just, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah.
That's such fucked up shit.
And our oldest daughter is going to be 18 soon. And
Foundation's 18 and up.
yeah, that stuff scares the crap out of me.
I can only imagine. I mean, it's a scary world for everybody, but when you hear like really messed up stories, especially what did that happen in 2018?
Yeah, I think it was just last year.
Yeah, it's so recently, and you think that we have a safer society. Well, I mean, maybe now less like, but you wish that the society would be safer, and then to hear about some atrocity like that, it's just really disheartening and scary as a parent. I'm sure.
Right.
Like, I can't even imagine. I'm not a parent, but
Right.
but I can imagine a little bit. Just because empathy or whatever. You got friends, and just, man, that's.
Yeah. Well, I
It's
mean,
another thing.
and now I'm the old guy at the club.
Oh, yeah.
Luckily, most of the time that I'm at a club, I'm usually playing.
Mm-hmm.
But just being being the guy in his 40s at the club anymore isn't
You're
really
not
great.
that. I mean, you're not that old looking, and 40 isn't that old. And also, like, you have all this experience. Like, they could either have a crap DJ come that is like some 19-year-old who plugs in his iPod. I mean, not to get me wrong, I'm sure there's plenty of 19-year-old DJs who are phenomenal. But,
Right.
or someone who's as experienced as you, like a veteran in the game. Because how long have you been DJing for?
25 years.
Wow, that is quite a career. So you started with vinyls on Techniques, or
Yeah, 93 and 94, I started messing around with other people's turntables. And
okay, like friends, family,
yeah, just
kind of stuff.
and well, plus I had been in the rave scene for a long time in Florida, and turntables were always around, and so it would be the end of the night, and somebody had left their turntables over, and so you'd get curious and want to play with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then at 95, I just really started. I got my own turntables. I started buying my own records, and just kind of went from there, and just opened everything up for me. I mean, I met some of the best friends I have in the world through DJing. Some of the best experiences, some of the worst experiences I've had have also been through DJing.
It's a roller
But
coaster, yeah.
No, it's been fun. I mean, we've kind of done and seen it all. It's been kind of really wild, really wild ride.
I can imagine. I mean, I've been around music scenes here and there, and definitely music brings people together, and it can be really crazy, but also
Yep.
really crazy in a good way, which is cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So 25 years of DJing, and have you done so you've obviously done lots of clubs and
Mhm.
probably some raves too.
Yep.
What about like weddings or more like mundane,
Yeah,
tame things?
I've actually played some weddings. Yeah, actually, some of the worst experiences I've had with DJing have been at weddings.
Because guys trying to ask you to play their stuff, or
Well, yeah, I mean, normally, whoever is a guest at the wedding wants different music than the bride and groom do.
oh yeah.
And so then you get the bride and groom getting drunk throughout the night, coming up and requesting stuff. And then one that I played at, I was at the bar, and the groom's dad came up and punched one of the best men, or one of the groomsmen, in the face, and cleared out the whole place into the parking lot and had a brawl. And
You still get your money though?
yeah, but just kind of packing up your shit and like, let's get out of here.
Yeah, don't, because people are that lit, they're that
Yeah.
drunk. You don't want your, because that's expensive equipment that you've accrued over years,
Right.
and yeah, it's like that's your baby. Like I have my monitors and stuff, and anyone falls over that, someone's getting a fucking knuckle sandwich. That's for sure.
Yep. But no, we even threw a rave in an old warehouse, and all of a sudden the guy that owned the place showed up with a shotgun, and so we all just started grabbing equipment, records, turntables, and everybody split. The cops were all coming, and we had to run out of there with all of our stuff in hand. And the guy actually grabbed one of our friends, who was one of the guys that was throwing it, and like held him by the scruff of the neck with a shotgun, and held him there until the cops came. And he had generators there, like those big
gas powered,
on wheels and everything like that. And so,
that sucks. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what the true meaning of rave was until someone like laid it out, that it's like it's supposed to not like be authorized, and I was like, oh. And I went to one like for the first time, and then I realized it's really cool though. It's just a totally different vibe. You're kind of going against the grain and stuff.
Well, I mean, back in the day, when we first started doing raves in the 90s, they were legal. I mean, we were doing them in huge racetracks and huge clubs, like the Edge in Fort Lauderdale, the Edge in Orlando, the Chili Pepper, turned into Chili Pepper and all that stuff. But, we were in the middle of the center of the rave scene, and we would just go to these massive events with like 10,000 people, and
Jeez, that must have been such a rush.
Oh yeah.
So if I was to ask you what your craziest stories were DJing, would it be out of those raves or somewhere else?
Well, like when those big parties were going on, I wasn't DJing. I was just a club kid that was running around to these things.
Okay.
That's when I was first really starting to get into stuff, but I was still just a kid and running around being stupid.
Yeah, and just learning how.
But it wasn't until that Florida passed an anti-rave law, which made it so that you couldn't play anything but live music, and then you could only play it till 11 or 12 at night, and you couldn't go past 12, because back in the day we would have bottle clubs and after hours clubs to where you would be able to have a rave going on until 5 or 6 in the morning. And then
that's how it should be.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's back that age, you could stay up that long.
Yeah.
But no, it was all legal at the time, and then once they came down on us, we had to, when we started doing things in clubs again, we had to call it something completely different. We couldn't call it a rave. We had to.
So it was just the stigma around the word.
Exactly.
Okay.
And around turntables, and they associated anything with turntables, unless it was a wedding, that you were,
up to no good.
Right.
Like, okay. Was this the 90s
Yeah.
that was happening? So this was kind of like where hip hop was becoming more well known.
Right.
And so that's probably part of the reason why, huh?
Well, no, it was a lot of it was ecstasy and a lot of the drugs, a lot of acid and ecstasy and stuff like that. And Florida just came down on it really hard. And so once everything, the dust kind of settled and we were allowed to do things in clubs again, we had to call it different things, like call it art and music night. And so we would have artists showing paintings. Now I'm an artist as well, so I would have my paintings up, and we would have people that cook food and just any kind of
That's
art
cool, though.
we would kind of bring together. And so we had to kind of fly under the radar doing that for a while. And then some of the younger kids started coming up going, we're going to throw rave. And I'm like, don't use that word.
Yeah, no, they're going to get you.
Yeah, and they're going to yank you again.
And were people doing that and then getting caught? And
yeah, somewhat.
Okay.
It's now that like club culture and DJs are in friggin' half the restaurants and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's not as bad as what we went through back then. But
cops were just chasing you down and stuff like that.
But yeah, we had to completely recreate the wheel. It's like kids with skateboarding now. When I was a kid, you couldn't skateboard on a sidewalk. You couldn't skateboard anywhere.
Yeah.
Now there's skate parks and everything like that, and parents are
encouraging it.
Yeah.
And they're buying. I know, because like I was, when I was a teenager, it was right in that in between stage, and they were like, some security guards would just be like, get off the property, or they try to, get you, and there was like videos of people, getting their skateboards broken, and like just wild altercations with cops and random people, and now, yeah, like you said, it's a totally different world. It's interesting how many things from only 20, 30 years ago that were not accepted at all, completely just out in the open everywhere.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of cool, but I don't know how to feel about it because it's just such a sudden change. But I guess we'll kind of see how it goes,
Yeah. Well, I mean, to see the legalization of marijuana, to see gay marriage legalized, I mean, so many things that have just happened in such a short amount of time we never thought we would ever see in our lifetime.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, it's almost like the end of the 60s when there was so much turmoil and so many different things and so many changes, it's kind of like we're at that kind of point again to where there's a lot of turnover.
Sexual revolutions going on too.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of, and with those come all the other, ails and, things that can go wrong with that. And it's very interesting seeing what's happening with all that club culture and event culture like that. And then hearing about foundation, just hoping that stuff doesn't get pervasive and continue on.
Right. Yeah.
It's crazy. So we didn't mention before, but Matt, I mean, it's plain to see Mad Rhythm Records. That is the establishment you work for, or that you're part of, and you've created over these years with Carlos Amezcua, DJ Carlos AM, and
Calcast.
Calcast.
Yeah,
he lives a lot of people.
Yeah, Calcast came to me about 3 or 4 years ago and said, "Hey, do you want to start up a label?"
So it was you two that started this label up.
Yep.
Okay.
And he said, "Hey, do you want to start this label? We can be a sub-label for another label called Electrified Minds." And so we just basically started searching for artists everywhere. And we have artists from South America, Central America, Mexico, Europe, all over the place that send us music all the time. And so now we just kind of put different compilations together. Sometimes we put out EPs, sometimes longer, and just a total variety of music, not just one thing or another. I mean, some of the bigger labels that I love, only do one type of music.
It's very limited that way.
And yet, we've just become a catch-all for just everything that we love. Both Calcast and I, we love playing every kind of different music, producing every kind of different music. I kind of have music ADD. I'll do a drum and bass track, and I'll be like, okay, I can't do anything drum and bass for a while. I'm going to do a house track, and then I'm like, I can't do house for a while. I'll do a breaks track, and then I'm like, no, okay, now I'm going to do dubstep.
That's so cool, though, because it exposes you to such an eclectic range of music.
Right.
Like you're saying, I mean, with the ragas back in the day when you were singing ragas, which I just think that's so cool. But sorry to derail that.
Oh, no, that's all good. But yeah, no, it's just... different influences, I just even with my art, I can't paint the same thing every time. I have to do, and I can't do the same medium. I have to like change it up. It's like
charcoal, pastels, oil based,
Krylon, like whatever.
What's
just
Krylon?
Spray paint.
Oh, wow.
Doing graffiti, yeah.
Do you have any physical paintings right now or artwork that you can bring on the camera? Or okay.
Yeah, a couple of those. But
wow,
yeah.
These are really, really nice. So are all of these on the wall?
No, those are Angel's mom's.
Okay.
But like the really bright ones are mine.
These two right here.
Yep.
Yeah, I really like those colors. And this one is just where is that? What river is that?
That's in Florida. That's it's actually a little like a little pond that used to be back behind my house. And I used to drive by that road and look at that every day, right about at sunset, and then I would do, I'd take pictures, and then I'd just save the pictures, and then when I'd want to paint something, I'd pull out the picture and go from there.
That is quite a skill. I mean,
Nice.
it's a realism painting, which I really like that. But I mean, I'm colorblind, so I might not be able to like completely. Yeah, like you said, it's very bright. So
Yeah.
there's like a sense of realism, but I think that you probably use some less than natural colors in there.
Yeah, no, I like bright, vivid, vivid colors, and it's just kind of the way that I roll.
It comes out really nice with that. It's sunset, I assume.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
2010, huh?
Yep.
Wow. I mean, do you have any of this online that I could link to? Because I'm going to put
Yep.
Mad Rhythm Records. You do?
Yeah, Patrick Joy Art on Facebook. I have a bunch of
Okay.
stuff on there.
Do you have an official website too, or just the Facebook for now?
I think I do.
Okay.
I have a few websites with all the different stuff that I do with madrhythm.com and also my construction company and stuff like that.
Okay.
So
I didn't even know about that, so we'll have to get into that a little bit if you want to. Of
oh
course.
sure, yeah.
And we'll put all this stuff in the show notes for the links for your art and for Mad Rhythm Records and
Right
construction company might as well plug that. Get a little
Yeah,
advertising.
joydevelopments.com. We're the number one residential contractor in Seattle.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So is that like new buildings or renovations?
Mostly renovations, remodels,
okay.
stuff like that. I can do pretty much anything, but I started out doing commercial projects, and then now that I'm on my own, I do a lot of residential.
That is really cool. So you started. So now you're not a foreman necessarily. You're an owner.
Yeah.
You're an owner. Okay.
So basically, I'm the project manager. I'm the accountant. I'm the owner. I'm the estimator. Pretty much everything like
Gotta
that.
do the bids, all that.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
a lot of work.
Yeah.
Well, you said you're the accountant too.
Yeah. I kind of have to do everything.
That's good for your mind.
Yeah,
right?
I'm HR. I'm pretty much everything. So I don't do as much of the work anymore.
That's good. I mean, you're doing all these other
Yeah,
things.
no, I have a great team that does my work now. I jump in and do things like cabinets and stuff that I like to do.
fine woodwork and
Yeah.
such. Okay, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
things
Do you
that I can be-
carpentry. Do you have like a shop that you do woodwork in, or?
In our shop here, I do welding, some woodwork,
Oh, wow.
a little bit of everything.
That is cool. That's so many good skills to have, because you could always hire some amazing team like you
Right.
that you have and you yourself, or if you have the skills, you can just do it yourself.
Yeah.
Go up there, put in some new gutters, roofing, whatever.
Well, even this table I did.
Oh, you made this?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Do you have a picture of this on your?
Yep.
Okay. Good. Yeah. So yeah, people should check this out. I don't want to move the camera, but it's a really nice. I mean, you put some type of finish on here.
Yeah, it's actually an epoxy. It's it's an epoxy that you mix up, and then basically I pour it on there, and then I kind of use a brush to get it on the sides. But then for like the next 2 hours, I have to come back and like kind of scrape it off the edges,
So
clean it up.
Rip out.
Yeah, because it just wants to drip, and it self levels. So it's you have to spend some time working with it, but
It looks really nice. And where
Yeah.
do you get this piece of wood?
this is actually from Second Use down in Soto. Basically, when we demo a job, we take all the appliances and any of the products that don't go to a landfill or still have some value. We'll take to Second Use or whatever second place stuff.
Some other job site or something
exactly.
like that? Okay.
And we try to reuse it as much as we can. And so Second Use is a place I like to go to a lot. And they just had this burl there, and I had credit from some appliances and some stuff that I dropped off. And so just basically picked this up, brought it home, sanded it all down, because it was kind of
Level.
wavy and unlevel and stuff like that. So I sanded it down to bring out all the color, and then epoxied it, and then put the legs on.
Yeah, it's a great find and really, really good craftsmanship, I gotta say.
Thank you.
I wouldn't have thought, until you told me about all this construction work and all these other carpentry skills that you have, that you made this. And so it is on your website, huh?
Yep.
And what do you say? Second stop? What is this?
Second use.
Second use. So this is a store that you go to for supplies and return your supplies
Yeah.
for credits and stuff.
Exactly. They have old doors. They have old cabinets. Sometimes they have huge old letters that have been taken off buildings that you could take and
Oh,
make
that's
into
so
something
cool.
else.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they have everything there. Old keys and locks, like skeleton keys and stuff.
Oh, really? The classics. Is that
Yep.
what area is that?
That's I think it's down on 4th in Soto. So
Okay.
just right off the West Seattle Bridge.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty close then.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so. You have so many skills. I mean, I already knew about the DJing and the fact that you have a record label. This is really
Yeah.
cool.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Well, I seem to have mastered quite a few. You know, I would say at least a master of woodwork, construction because of your ratings, and then also music. So like,
Thanks, man.
that's a good amount of mastery right there. That is a funny quote, though. Yeah, spreading yourself too thin
Yeah,
can definitely
no.
be a bad thing.
Well, that's the thing. It's like no matter what, you could drop me in any country, any place really in the world, and I'll be able to figure out a way to get a job and do something as long as I can figure out the friggin' language.
That's awesome. I mean, and yeah, those hard skills or hard skills is what they're called.
Yep.
Where you're actually doing something. They're so important.
Yep.
Like car work is one thing that I really wish that I knew anything about. I know how to do oil, and that's like where the buck stops.
Right.
Change tires, this is the basics.
Right.
But, I got some friends that can do that, and I'm always just wowed by like how much they know about it and like their ability to just to do it. My buddy like fixed my radiator. Took him like an hour. Maybe it was a little bit more than that, but it was a really quick job.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing stuff.
Well, when I grew up, my first car was 16 when I was 16, and so it was a '76 Cordoba. It's a beautiful car, but of course everything was going wrong with it as soon as it was old.
High mileage.
By that, yeah. So I had to swap out the alternator. Had to swap out everything. Even some of like we had to swap out a nut that was this big. We had to get this like custom wrench that was about this big and had a head on it, but that was adjustable, just to get this friggin' nut off of it. But I mean that's how we had to do. That's how my dad taught me. It's like you need to learn how to do this shit.
Yeah, I mean those skills are so important, especially if you're gonna be out away from the city, because people like me that grow up in the city, they just take a lot of things for granted because the taxes pay for it,
Yep.
right? And then it's just oh, let me hit AA or AAA. What am I saying? Just all those like services or any type of towing,
Yep.
and then there's just the city services, the paved roads, like all these things that we take for granted. That's why it's so funny to me. Like I was looking at the living wages for King County, and then on the very bottom of that page, it shows like certain careers and like their the amount they're getting paid, and some of the lowest were like truck drivers and like a lot of these things. And I can understand that maybe there's a lot of supply of truck drivers, and maybe that's what's driving it down. That was the only thing I could think, but it's just weird how people don't. And farming, it was like 27,000 for farming. It's like, really?
Oh wow.
That cheap? Like maybe it's just King County. I don't know.
Well,
but
there's not a whole lot of markup in farming. I mean, you can't. The poor farmers that have had to deal with this trade war and shit like that, they really don't make much money off of what they do.
it's
They're
ridiculous.
and when your whole business model is based on petroleum because you need it for your tractors and all your equipment, that's going through the roof. You can't sell your stuff to China and places where you're normally selling it before.
Tariffs and
Yeah.
other weird, like you said.
So I
trade
mean,
wars.
they're getting completely screwed.
And I mean, that's like the backbone of our society. Like
Yep.
we have to eat. Most of us like go to the grocery store unless you're capable of making your own food. I mean, that's what brings me back to the truck driving thing. It's just ridiculous how these things, the truck drivers are the ones that are supplying all these different outlets that we have, and then the people making the food and those that are manufacturing the goods. But those things don't have really any value in our society socially. I mean, they have a great actual value, but
Right.
for some reason people there's like a weird cognitive dissonance is that new term that people like using.
Yeah.
I think it describes that. Like, they get all these advantages of this cheap products and these things that they need to survive on a daily basis, and yet when they look at people like that, they for some reason don't understand the value of the work, and I am always baffled by that. It might be because my dad, on my dad's side, there's a lot of blue collar, like that's how he came up, and he's a psychotherapist now, so he's white collar, but he always instilled in me like the importance of that. And
Yeah, hard work.
I think not a lot of people do that, which is really too bad.
Well, yeah, now you can just order everything off Amazon, which you can buy our music off Amazon. I'm not saying anything about it.
Do it,
But
yeah, Amazon's great. Yeah.
But you can just order your carrots or whatever, and you don't see how it gets to Amazon, and all the, it takes the truck driver to take, the supply to the warehouse,
All
that gets
the
it to
long
the warehouse,
hours,
that gets
yeah.
it to Amazon, that ships it to you, and then the delivery driver that has to deliver it to your door.
Yeah, all the people in those places, it's crazy because, like, with certain goods, even with a refrigerator, you have to get it there on a certain time schedule, and I've heard about people having some really crazy hours on trucks and all kind of supply stuff. So I mean, I have no idea, no experience in that, but
Right.
I hear that it can be pretty wild.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's I mean, that's the way it is, and hopefully people will start recognizing that. But if wishes were horses, beggars would ride, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But so that's so cool. So how many people are in Mad Rhythm Records that are like? Because it seems like you have commissioned musicians or people that submit stuff, and then you have people like you that are DJs and then producers. How does that whole thing work?
Well, Mad Rhythm originally was a DJ crew. I was with another crew from like 1995 to 2000, and then it was 2000, 2001 to where I started out on my own, and we at one time, like 2006, 2007, we had 20 DJs all around Florida and out of state that were, spinning underneath our name. But then when I left Florida, I said that CalCast was the only one that could really, still produce parties under that name. And then now that he's gone, he's moved out to Las Vegas. It's kind of like a perfect time for Mad Rhythm Records to really kind of be its own thing. Okay. And I mean, we have, like, I was looking at our roster, we have at least 20 to 30 artists right now from all over the world that are sending us music, and we're putting out on our compilations.
That is really amazing.
Yeah.
And so you just, I guess, credit them in like on the website, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, we get paid a very little amount of money. I mean,
at this point,
it's funny. Our first year, we got the report back on how many, how much we sold, and it was 20 pounds. So, because the format comes from the UK,
17
and so it was, like we made maybe 17 bucks, something like that the first year, but it was cool. We were still getting our music out, and I mean the second year we were like maybe double that, and it's funny because you only get paid a certain amount from Spotify,
pennies, fractions,
right? And like Beatport, you sell your stuff on Beatport or Amazon. I mean, by the time our distribution gets a chunk, and then we get our chunk. It's all just cents on for every track that we're actually getting. Oh. But it's good to get your music out there, and like for me, it's it doesn't pay my bills, but when I come home and I've had a stressful day in the construction company, I get in the studio, flip on the monitors, and then just jam out for an hour and a half until it's dinner time, or we have to do something with the girls or whatever.
Yeah.
but it kind of like centers me, and it kind of, it's like I can have a really shitty day, but then, I come home and I'll just make a tear out drum and bass track, and next thing you know, my stress is pretty much gone.
Spirits are lifted.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, when music hits, you feel no pain, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I feel the same way. And it seems like you have a little bit of a setup going on right here with some music on your laptop.
Yeah, I was actually just looking at how many artists we actually have at this point, and like how many songs we've put out. We've put out at least 20 something albums, and a lot of those are compilations. So we may have, 13 to 15 different artists, excuse me, on each one of those albums.
Wow.
So, and it's like little by little, our name's getting out. One of our artists hit in the dubstep charts this year. One of my tracks hit in the top 100 of the drum and bass on Beatport. We've
That's
had
awesome.
one of our compilations. I think that same one, we hit in the top 100 in 4 different genres on Beatport, and it was
What were the genres, if you recall?
I think it was techno, tech house, drum and bass, and something else. But it was it was crazy. Just in one release with just a variety of artists on it.
Was that last year, 2018, or
Yep.
this year? Okay.
Yep.
2018. So, what do you notice as the most popular? Like when you personally are releasing under DJ Rasputan, sorry, DJ Rasputan. What do you notice seems to pull the most amount of views?
It's hard to say. Like my, usually the stuff that I like to produce isn't the most popular music. I've always kind of been on the outskirts with drum and bass and dubstep and things that aren't, like things that aren't, because house and techno and stuff like that gets a lot more hits because people all around the world, kind of flock to that music. And like drum and bass has always been in a side room somewhere or a small bar or something. We had a few years there to where we would be able to play in bigger clubs and stuff like that, and it got really popular for a while. And then, everything ebbs and flows, and it kind of...
Was that early 2000s?
Yeah, yep.
I think I kind of remember, because that's when I was first hearing about that, drum and bass. That's cool, though. So have you made your own drum and bass?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Like I was saying, one of my tracks actually hit in the top 100. And it was just a remix that I really didn't spend as much time on. It just kind of happened, and it did well.
It's funny how that happens.
Yeah, and now I'm producing stuff that sounds way better and is just kind of light years ahead of that. But it's just weird. Different tracks, appeal to different people, and
is it maybe the keywords too, like, or
maybe
is that how? Because I don't know how Beatport works. Do you put like tags or keyword things?
Usually, you look by genre. And,
okay, so just one.
Yeah, and just every once in a while, something will hit, and you never, it's hard to tell.
Hit or miss. Just,
yeah. I put out a future house track, and our distribution label, Label-Worx, picked it up and put it in a compilation called Future House Anthems. And I'm like, it was the first Future House song I did, and it turned into an anthem. Like,
luck of the draw.
I don't know.
That's awesome.
Well, half the time I don't even know what genre it is when I'm dealing with house and stuff because I've been out of it for so long. And
they're very particular too, right?
Yeah, and there's so many different subgenres. Like half the time I'll do something and I'll be pretty much finished with it, and I'll send it to Carlos AM and be like, okay, what genre is this? And he'll be like, okay, that's bass house. I'm like, okay, awesome. And then I'll release it and I'll say it's bass house.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, with that stuff, that is something that is over my head. Like, I can kind of identify Motown, and I can identify reggae, and like sort of rock, but rock has like a bunch of subgenres too. But when it comes to dance music, I am lost. Like, Well, you telling me about the 140 to 145 for dubstep, and using the fact that the dub, like that connection made it easier for me to understand.
Sure. Yep.
But the other, like chill step, I'm like, okay, I can get that it's chill. But I guess that's why.
I know. Like half the time, I think people just get fucked up and are like, "We're gonna call it this now."
Probably. Holy shit.
Honestly, because I mean, and there's like subgenres for subgenres, and I mean it's just getting a little too crazy.
Yeah, but eventually you can't be too particular because it's like, wow, like, because ICP, right, Insane Clown Posse, that's almost like its own genre, right?
Right.
And I wonder if there must be other musicians that do that now, emulating that kind of style, I guess.
Right. Sure.
Yeah, it's not one that I know that much about, to be honest. I just heard of it. I heard that there's very wild music. But it's
Well, yeah,
when it
and
happens.
apparently they have a cult following, so I mean, they must be doing something right. They're selling more music than I am.
Yeah, I think part of it is like their connection with like the outcast and like giving the identity.
Yep.
I mean, I'm basing this off of a Workaholics episode that I saw. That was like the most insight I got into it, if that's even an accurate representation. I hope I'm not misrepresenting ICP. But yeah, it's an interesting world with music, how people identify. I went to this festival called What the Fest. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's out in Dufur, Oregon. Have you been to it?
No, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, I mean, they have all this art you can walk through, and a lot of it's interactive. Have you done those kind of festivals before, where you're out in the wilderness?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Used to throw island parties out in the middle of Florida.
What?
There was had a very gracious landowner, Mr. Meller, that let us throw parties on his property. He had this. It's an island, but it's surrounded by a river. It's like not out in the middle of the water.
Okay.
But it's an orange grove, and there was only two ways to get on the island. Was either a little wood bridge that you walked over, or there was a small bridge to where you could drive over onto it. But other than that, you had to drive through all these cow patties and all this shit to get there. But it was amazing because we would set up generators and set up, one station on one part of the island, another station on the other, and have two totally different types of music going on at the same time.
They were far enough apart that you could play at the same time.
Yeah, and then there was enough trees in between that, like,
Cushion the sound.
yeah, kind of cushioned it.
That is
And
so cool.
so, yeah, we did that for years and had some really crazy, interesting parties. And
I could only imagine.
yeah,
Do you have any stories that you want to share about that?
oh God, yeah, it was. Well, one time we had to hold a guy down for about 4 hours because he'd taken something that, who knows what.
Cool. Oh, he'd taken some. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and kind of went crazy, and we had to hold him down until he sobered up.
Oh my goodness.
No, I mean, those parties were a lot of fun, but they were a little more sedate because it was on an island and it was a little more chill.
I want to have good rapport with the guys.
Right, exactly. We
Mr.
didn't get
Miller.
too crazy, but when we used to be sponsored by Jägermeister, those parties were kind of crazy. We would.
Really?
We would play clubs in Orlando and around the state of Florida, and Southern Wine and Spirits, they were the distribution hub that gave everybody their liquor. Well, we were selling so much Jägermeister at all of our shows, which I cannot drink Jägermeister anymore.
Liquor.
You're right. Dear God.
Yeah. Don't even remind you.
Yeah, no, it's no mas. We were selling so much that they just started sponsoring our events and sending Jaeger girls out there and like all this stuff with it, and it got crazy to where they would sell out of all the liquor at the bar in like 2 or 3 hours.
Jeez,
and
that's not even a full show.
no, and things would either be awesome or go south really quick. So
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I don't know what the percentage is in that, but that's definitely a recipe for some wildness.
Oh yeah, and some hangovers, and yeah,
Because it's sugary. It's more sugary, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Yeah.
that cinnamon Fireball stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not the same.
no,
That cinnamon versus
but yeah,
the
it's
licorice
like
taste.
black
but-
licorice. Yeah,
Yeah, I thinking about it because I don't like Jägermeister that much. There's like that thing where we put Jaeger bombs. What is that? Is
yeah.
that in beer or something?
well, yeah, or you can do a Jaeger bomb also with Red Bull.
Right. That is. Those are really
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah, that was difficult because as soon as because Jägermeister gets you kind of up as it is, but then you add something like Red Bull
Stimulant
to
like
it.
that.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
it's because then if somebody's that fucked up that they're acting crazy, you're not going to get them to sleep for a long time because they're all charged up on the Red Bull too.
So even after the show, like people are kind of
Yeah,
getting
just
crazy and
yeah.
wilding out.
Yeah, and
Oh my
pretty
God.
nuts.
So this wasn't on the island though. This is were these in different warehouses, or when they started sponsoring you, did they lease places out for you?
No, we would get the bar or the club, and then
Okay.
and then just let them know when we were playing there, and yeah, it was kind of different.
Yeah, that sounds like quite a ride. How many years did you work with Jaeger in that fashion?
It was probably about 2 or 3 years that they were coming out to our parties.
That's really cool. And this was 2010.
Yeah, it's probably through 2008, something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, it was kind of a blur. The first real party that we played in Orlando, one of my friends was a resident at one of the coolest drum and bass places, and she had booked me to come up and play, and so we brought all of our crew with us, and it was kind of like a dark kind of fetishy theme kind of thing that we were going for.
BDSM sort of.
Yeah,
like,
kind of.
S&M concept.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we were all dressed up in our weird gear and shit like that, and I rented an excursion limo, and
Sounds
they
fancy.
dropped us they dropped us off in front of this place, and it was a tiny club called Eli's Crib, and but it had a really cool DJ booth up in a place called the Crow's Nest where you got to look down on everything.
Oh, that is sick.
And so we were all dressed in black and got spikes on you, like we looked like Guar. And we basically came out of this excursion and like went into this club, and literally all of Orlando kind of followed us all in there and just packed the place completely. And I mean, it was like elbows to assholes. I mean, it was nuts.
Was it altogether fun for everybody? Or
Oh
is it
yeah,
like, okay,
we
so
had a
that's good
friggin'
one.
blast. We just and just tore it up all night and had a blast. And then next thing you know, that like somebody else wanted us to play up there, and even
kept
played.
packing it.
Yeah, played with the guys in Torque, which is the biggest drum and bass weekly in Florida. And we had a lot of fun from what I remember.
Yeah, one of those. That's awesome though. What's Guar?
Oh, Guar's an amazing, like, I don't know if you'd call it death metal, but they're like a metal band, and they dress up with huge, like football pads that are covered up, like painted with stuff with spikes all over them. And basically, whenever they play a show, they kill the crowd by spraying them with friggin' red Kool-Aid. And if you get hit with the red Kool-Aid, then they've killed you.
And you have to like fall down or something, or
Or no, it's just part of the show.
you just
and
have red on you.
Yeah, and they're awesome. You have to look it up. Guar.
Guar. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
They're old school.
This so reminds me of I don't know if you ever watched Beat Street, that movie. I think there's a few, but I think I only watched the one, and it's just kind of about early I guess hip hop culture. In
Oh
a way,
yeah.
you know?
Okay. Yeah.
And just like the wild outfits that they were wearing back
Oh
then.
yeah.
Just spikes and crazy hair and just anything like just crazy costumes, and then the dope performances that they'd have. That's so cool though. So you listen to a little metal or?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I played in punk bands and played all kinds of
you're
music.
An actual
and
musician.
Yep.
Yeah. Actual musician.
Yeah.
So high class.
back back in the day. But yeah.
That's dope though. So and you were saying before, you played acoustic guitar, which you have right over here. Very very nice looking one. It's a Fender. I mean, that's cool. Was there a guard there before?
Yeah.
You just took it off.
Yeah.
And then
Sun melted it off.
oh really? The adhesive just came. Yeah.
Right.
And then electric guitar and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I started out playing in bands when I was like 15 or 16.
Wow.
My best friend and I would just kind of make up a band, and like we would play on the beach or do whatever. He would just carry his guitar around anywhere, and we would just plop down and start playing, or
so cool.
or join with other people, and we did that for a while. And when I went to college, I played in a couple different bands, and I just mostly sang, but we would play like grunge and metal and old Ramones songs and stuff like that.
That's cool. So you were primarily singing, and then you later got into playing guitar
Yeah,
as well.
I actually started playing guitar when I was in 7th grade.
Okay.
But the lady that was teaching me guitar didn't teach me any chords at first. It was just all notes, and wanted me to play like "Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys." And so when you're
like,
11
"That's
years
lame.
old,
I don't
you know,
yeah.
and Poison and bands like that were pretty were like the thing back then, and Van Halen. So like
Yeah.
playing "Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys" wasn't cool at the time. So I kind of lost interest.
Oh,
and then
okay.
but then once I discovered I could sing, then it kind of got me back into it. And I don't know, I've always been in love with music, but it's now I feel like I'm really kind of doing things to my potential.
That's really. Do you have any of your singing online to buy or
No,
listen
no,
to?
I don't.
No?
We've recorded a couple things, and then I haven't done anything with it in a long time, but I'd like to revisit it.
That's cool. I should have asked you this before, but I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you want to, play like a song or something, that'd be cool. But if not,
Yeah, I haven't done it in
probably
a while.
not. Okay, no worries. But yeah, I mean, look out for it, I guess, on Beatport or at some
Sure.
point in the future.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
cool.
I've got the distribution, so I can do it whenever I want.
Yeah, that's crazy. So how does that work with just distributions? You just sign up or pay a monthly fee?
Well, so since we're a sub-label, luckily our main label, they deal with all of that. They're great to work with. They do our contracts, some of our mastering, stuff like that. But then they go through another company called Label-Worx, which they basically they do a lot for us. They not only get us on Amazon, Beatport, Spotify, TrackWorks, or TrackSource. I mean, so many different outlets. They also make up videos for us and put it on YouTube.
That is really nice.
Yep. And they also have their own label. So when
Hierarchy.
yeah,
Of labels.
exactly. So any of my songs that they like, they put out on their own compilation. And so they've done that twice, to where they put me on one of their albums called Drum and Bass Weapons.
Okay.
And then they put me out on another one called Future House Anthems. So, and I've sold more, more of my music on a couple of their compilations than I have on our own. So that definitely helps out.
And that's Label-Worx, and then there's one above them, and both of those are.
Well, no, Label-Worx is kind of they're basically the top.
Okay.
They handle all of our stuff from there. But Electrified Minds is the one that we're under, and so they're our parent label.
And then they're under Label-Worx. So
Mm-hmm.
Label-Worx, Electrified Minds, and then
then
Mad Rhythm Records.
Yep.
Which this is, and who's making this artwork here?
Actually, I drew that. That's
sick.
I drew that logo. That was our first logo that I did. Oh Jesus, probably in the early 2000s, probably 2000, probably 2002 or something like that. And our first shirts, that was the logo that was on it. And then I changed to a couple different labels. This was one of them. I did a UPC for a while.
So that's a
Yeah.
UPC?
Yeah, it's a UPC symbol.
Oh, it says Mad Rhythm.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did that for a while, and then this is also another one of ours. That was one of our logos for a while.
Looks very Indian.
Yeah, that's definitely it's an ohm, and so that was the ohm's really been kind of.
Oh, it's Ohm. Okay.
Yeah, it's been important to me because I've thought of it always as the perfect sound, and so I thought that kind of encompassed everything that we were trying to do, was coming up with the perfect sound.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Ohm is a really interesting concept because it's a vibration.
Mm-hmm.
You can vocalize it, but it's not a particular note necessarily, right? It's just
Exactly.
sound. What would you describe Ohm as from your understandings?
Yeah, it's like the perfect vibration or sound with your connection to God is kind of how I understood it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of layman's terms.
I mean, that's totally fine. That's my understanding of it. Like,
Right.
I've heard it, similar to that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool though. And I hear that like doing chants can be good for your, just vibrating your whole body,
Sure.
which is good.
Exactly.
Especially the thoracic cavity.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, especially when you think that all we are is different vibrations of different, carbon and different things all going this way and that way, and
Like cold is the lessening of the vibrations, and heat is the acceleration of the vibrations,
Right.
which is really fascinating stuff. I mean, that's why science is so cool.
yeah.
So you guys got a cat,
Yep, that's Kisa.
the cutie,
Yeah.
having a nap,
Right.
waking up. What's up, Kisa?
You want to be on camera?
Oh, candid camera.
There we go. All right. She's like, yeah, I'm gonna be done with this real quick.
Done with the limelight.
Yeah. All right.
That's cool.
Yeah,
How many pets do you have?
She's our only one,
Oh, nice.
unless you count the children.
Yes, I'm sure that's quite the but a lot to manage, especially with teens. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
No.
I've heard.
The girls want a dog, but
Yeah, that's a lot of work because cats are kind of solo, and then dogs, they need all that love and stuff.
Yeah,
Not that
that-
cats don't.
no. But that's what I like about her. I mean, she does her own thing. I
Mhm.
mean, she's kind of needy though.
Yeah, you got feed her, and is she outdoor cat or
No, totally
so
indoor.
all inside?
Yeah.
No. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So she's lived her life on the confines of this house.
Yep. Yeah, she gets out every once in a while and gets
Oh, so she
shocked
does.
by the world.
What kind of cat is she?
Tabby.
A tabby. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so bad with breeds of animals.
She's a good girl though.
Yeah.
She's my cat dog. Have you ever watched the cartoon Cat Dog?
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, well she's like half dog, half cat, and
She'll
but-
respond to you, sort of.
Oh yeah, no, she
That's
like
so cool.
I can call her, she'll come, and then yeah, it's weird. She follows me around everywhere.
Yeah, she seems pretty responsive.
Yeah. Oh yeah, well, and we've taken her traveling. Actually, when we were down with you guys the other weekend, we were bombing the house to try to get the friggin' spiders out of here, and
This house.
Yeah, so we took her with us, and she chilled the whole time. She was a little distraught when we left the hotel room, but when we came back, she was totally cool.
Mm. Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, getting moved from one place to another like that.
Right.
Because yeah, it can be transition. Cats, I feel like, are different because dogs don't seem to take it the same way as cats. I'm not really sure
Right.
if that's like entirely true, but from what I've experienced, it seems like dogs are just easier for transitions,
Yeah.
especially getting them into kennels.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Well, and she's a rescue. She
Yeah.
When we found her, she was in a little tube at the Bellevue Humane Society and didn't want to come out and interact with any of the other cats.
Wow.
And if she sees another cat, she will want to kill it.
Very territorial, aggressive, kind of
Yep.
guarded and afraid.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep. She will take you out.
She's a cold killer.
Yep.
Are there like any other things or any things that we haven't covered that you wanted to go into?
I don't know. We've touched on a lot.
Yeah, we have. I mean, and there's so much more. Like, I want to have you back on if
Sure,
you're willing to,
yeah.
because I think that'd be great. You
Yeah.
know. And in the show notes, I'm gonna have Mad Rhythm Records, and if you want Label-Worx and
Electrified Minds.
Electrified Minds.
Sure.
The construction company, if you want that, and anything else. So
Sure.
I'll just bring up a notepad and just write it in there and stuff.
Sounds good.
Cool. Well, if there's nothing else you want, I guess that'll be it.
Sounds good, brother.
This is the Mind Link Frequency. DJ Rasputan, Patrick Joy. Everyone have a great day.
Asta.